Hey, what's up everyone? So today we are going to be doing second lord in the fifth house. And what happens when the planet that rules your second house in your birth horoscope is sitting in the fifth house during the time of your birth, okay? So, what is the second house? Second house represents your family, wealth, assets, your accumulative wealth, your speaking ability, your food intake, your family lineage, family history, okay? It's what you value in life. So all of these things are represented by the second house. Second house is also speech because of the fact it controls the throat area, or it can also control diseases related to this part of the face as well. Okay, so when that planet or the lord of that sign is sitting in that fifth house, what happens? Well, fifth house is a house of fun. Fifth house is a house of just like third house, it's a house of hobbies. It's it's a house of creativity, performing arts, self-expression. It's a house of children because children are the one that really give us creativity. We get inspired by children. It's also the house of children in general, like having children. It is a house of education, and it's a house of education that is kind of like undergrad education, something that you may actually learn as your skill. Okay. And fifth house is a house of Purva Punya Bhava, meaning that it's a house that represents your deeds from past life, how they were. Were they good? Were they bad? You know? So it's a very important house, and it's one of the Trikona houses as well, meaning that it's one of the houses known as a Lakshmi house, where you can get Lakshmi as in wealth through speculative business, through court cases, through your own education. Okay. So when the second lord comes into the fifth house, it shows that this person is going to earn wealth by speculative means. This person's source of wealth will come through creative pursuits, through having fun, kind of like sports. You may earn your wealth through sports, okay? And it shows that whatever you do will require you to earn money through speculation, meaning that you just don't know if you're gonna make $1,000 tomorrow or are you gonna make $100 tomorrow. Your money is spent on children. You love spending money on children. You love spending money on creative endeavors. Like, let's say you want to create a painting. And what this person will do, they will get the best paints out there. They'll be like, no, I'm going to create something. I'm going to create something to perfection. I'm going to need the best paint, the best quality, the best brushes, and the best canvas. Okay? So their money is spent into creative pursuits, spent into education, spent onto their kids. And their source of earning can also be kids as well later on in life, where kids can become so wealthy that they earn their money through their children. So, and plus, when second lord goes into the fifth house, it becomes part of a dhan yoga, meaning that wealth-giving union of a planet. So during the mahadasha of that certain planet, you can gain wealth. You can gain assets. You know, your family is also becomes a huge part of your creativity. Maybe your mom or dad were like artists, and now you caught up from them as a child, and you became an artist yourself. You became a stage performer as well. Okay, but depending upon what planet goes into the fifth house as the second lord, it'll have quite a different results. It may have results completely opposite of what I'm saying. It may have results by delay. It may have results early. And also you got to understand, fifth house is a house of romance, because romance involves creativity. You can just be a boring dud or a brick wall trying to, you know, have fun with dating someone. No, you got to be creative. You got to be adventurous. You got to have fun. And so if you don't have that in you, the other person is going to get turned off, you know, unless you both are like those boring people, but then two boring people are like repel each other because they all need excitement. So it's a house of love affairs and romance as well. So let's say sun. Sun rules your second house, as in the Leo is ruling in your second house. So sun becomes the lord of Leo. He goes into the fifth house. And Leo is what? I mean, sun is what? Sun is your father. Sun is your self-expression, your ego, your personality, and it's a significator of your career. Sun also represents government. So what it shows that your creativity, your skills of creativity must have come through the father. Your father must have been an artist. Your father must have been a performer or an artist, and you grasped those artistic qualities from him, and your personality became artistic. You wanted to involve yourself in a lot of artistic endeavors. You have this natural inclination towards politics as well, because fifth house also represents politics. But mainly what happens is that your personality, your self-esteem, and your ego is developed through your father. Now, this can be a kind of a negative thing too, because Scorpio is a karmic sign. It's ruled by the South Node, Ketu, and Mars. Those are become both core rulers, because Scorpio is that transformational sign. So it shows that your creativity occurred due to dramatic transformation related to your father, related to your romance. Because Sun is a hot planet. When Sun comes into the fifth house, it kind of burns the significance of the fifth house a bit. So what it does, it may burn the significance of your romance. There would be a lot of ego clashes in your romance, and you suddenly had a heartbreak because of the fact either you were too egoistic or the person that you met were egoistic, and it didn't work out. It broke your heart, and suddenly you now became this poet, artist, or a writer. So it shows a lot of transformation through the fifth house for a person. Their self-expression becomes dramatic, because Scorpio is that dark, transformative sign. So when you go out and perform, you like performing kind of like darker roles. You like performing one of those mafia roles, and the somebody who's like really depressed in life, and then suddenly it comes out of something. You love these situations in your performing arts. Okay, as far as education is concerned, again, Sun is kind of burning the significance of the fifth house, so it shows trouble in getting your undergrad degree. There's a lot of sudden transformation when it comes to your basic education. Suddenly you had to move. Suddenly your father passed away. Suddenly this happened, so your education gets left behind. Of course, unless if let's say Jupiter is sitting in the ninth house, or Jupiter is not sitting in the fifth house but not close enough to Sun where it's being burned, it'll help you in your education. Okay, if Mercury is in the fifth house with Sun, Mercury, and if it's not being burned like less than 2-3 degrees, then it can help you in your education. But then Sun really, especially for Cancer ascendant, since Sun rules the second house, and Cancer ascendant people are really more about performing arts. They love going out there on the stage, whether it's for political reasons or artistic reasons. Okay, let's say Moon rules your second house. Moon goes into the fifth house. Moon then rules the sign of Libra. Moon shows that Moon is your mind, your feelings, your peace of mind. So it shows your peace of mind comes in when you are involved in artistic projects, when you're involved in designing, when you're involved in maybe singing, acting, things related to Venus, because the seventh sign of Libra is ruled by Venus. So Venus becomes the landlord of the Moon. And the fifth house of fun and creativity, your mind is always involved in the fifth house things. Even if the ascendant lord is somewhere else, your mind that is always thinking about these fifth house matters. So, and it also shows that you were very inclined and in tuned with the things of the fifth house, meaning you're very inclined and in tune with your children's. You love these ancient scriptures. You love learning about the ancient scriptures. You can become a great astrologer with this, but you mainly love performing. Your mind is involved in, somehow expressing yourself through creativity. Mars goes into the sixth house. If Mars goes into the sixth house, let's say Mars rules the second house as Aries, okay? And Mars is a ruler of Aries. Mars goes in the fifth house. Could be debilitated, especially if Mars is between 25 and 28 degrees. It's really debilitated, okay? So what it shows, there's a lot of power struggle with your children. You want to control your children. You may even physically abuse your children. Okay, your children are not going to abuse you because you are going to your children. You are putting your power onto them. You're putting your will onto them. There's a lot of energy and a lot of short fuses regarding romances as well. Like anytime you get into a romance, you just become this person who wants to take control of that person, and things don't work out. But if let's say Mars is in the first 20 degrees, it'll be a lot calmer, but again, you got to realize Mars is a natural malefic planet. It's not like Sun. Sun is a mild malefic planet, but Mars is a natural malefic planet. Mars represents your energy, your will, your fighting ability. Okay, so when Venus is in the fifth house, it really shows us somebody who goes into sports, somebody who loves sports. And when it's in the Cancer sign, it shows somebody who may actually cheat when it comes to sports. Somebody who overpowers their teammates or their opponent. May do these little, like if in sports and basketball, like the bad boys Pistons, they took care of the Bulls physically. So you may do these little things to win the game. You may, go into battles of the sports as in fun things, but you make it a battle for yourself. You're like, how come this actor is doing so well and I'm not? You'll try to do something where you overpower them. So there's a lot of power struggle comes in the 5th house. As if Mars is really after 20 degrees, it's going towards its debilitation. So it shows that you had no interest in studies. You had no interest in going towards the academic side. You just wanted to rule over people and have fun with it. And this can actually make quite a good stockbroker as well. And Mars is also the significator of land and real estate. It can show you can be flipping houses, because flipping houses is speculative business. And maybe you might make your money, maybe you'll lose money on that property. So those things also comes into play. Let's say Mercury rules your second house. Mercury rules your second house as Gemini ascendant. Okay, I mean not Gemini. I said Gemini rules your second house. Mercury is in the 5th house. That means what? Mercury rules the 5th house of his own sign. Mercury is exalted in the 5th house then, because it's a sign of Virgo. Again, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is exalted in his sign. So when this comes in, it shows somebody who can be a stockbroker, somebody who can be in finance, somebody who can be a financial analyst, and playing with the stock market, sports betting. These guys love to gamble, including Mars, who loves to gamble. Mainly Mercury loves that. Mercury can also make you an artist, but really in the sign of Virgo, it's all about calculations. It's all about looking at the details. And mainly the details and calculations comes into two things, mainly finance and stock market. And it could also be in sports where you have to pay a lot of attention. Or if you go into entertainment, you may not be in front of the camera, but you may be behind the camera like a director. Director has to look at all the details. Somebody who makes the sets looks at all the details. But you can be an actor too with this, and you can be paying attention to the most little details about your role. But then other supportive planets have to be there, especially Venus. Venus has to either aspect Mercury through Parashara aspects or Gemini aspects, which I will tell you this weekend. But Mercury gives that ability to mimic. Mercury, how I mimicked Hitler, how I've mimicked all these actors. That's called mimicking. You can take somebody's personality and role and just turn yourself into it. You can become a homeless person by studying them. That's what Mercury gives. Mercury here makes a person a script writer. Makes a person somebody who writes stories, because Mercury, when you write a story, you pay attention to detail. Mercury is a significator of writing and education, so it shows that you can also be a teacher as well, working in high school or undergrad positions. And Jupiter controls your second house. Let's say Sagittarius, it goes into the 5th house. Again, Jupiter is in his own sign of Pisces, and since it rules the second house and the 5th house like Mercury, again, it shows finance, banking. It can show somebody who is a teacher of finance and banking or mathematics. Mercury also previously can show somebody who's a mathematics teacher, but then other Saturn has to be involved as well with that. But Jupiter at all can also show in the sign of Pisces, with a sign of imagination, sign of spirituality. Can show somebody who's naturally inclined towards spirituality, somebody who also love imaginative things, meaning that they can love classical art, classical singing, classical music, because Jupiter is the original significator of creativity, because it's a significator of the 5th house of children, and Jupiter becomes a significator of the 2nd house. So he's not only the ruler of these houses now, he's a significator of these houses. So it shows your education, your ability to learn the divine things, not only came through your family, but you also learned it through your children. Your children were very much involved into studies. You made sure your children were well educated. You put all these artistic things, you get your children involved in all the artistic things that from early age, maybe the violin lessons, piano lessons. Okay, so you're very much involved with your children, and it shows that you are like a guru to your children. Not only your children become your teacher, because it really does happen that way. Your children teach you how to become a different person, but you also instill a lot of things into your children as well. You will be involved in education a lot, because from the 5th house, Jupiter also aspects the ascendant and the 9th house. So it shows education became a really huge part of your life, especially spiritual and religious education. Saturn rules your 2nd house and goes into the 5th house. Okay, so when Saturn goes into the 5th house, let's say Aquarius rules your 2nd house. Saturn is in the sign of Taurus in the 5th house. Saturn is in his friendly sign. Saturn also becomes the ruler of the ascendant and the 2nd house. So it shows a lot of involvement with the 5th house. It can show that, but you got to understand one thing: Saturn is a natural malefic. Saturn delays things. Saturn is a disciplinarian. Saturn is structure and order. Saturn is boundaries. So it shows, although you were really involved with creativity, although you may be involved in a lot of things related to children, they come with a struggle. They come with a delay. However, it's not that much of a delay because of this fact: Saturn is now ruling his friend's house, the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus. It's not exalted, but it's in the 5th house. So it shows that as much as you like to express yourself creatively, you somehow always feel this feeling of being stuck. In romances, you may have these sudden ups and downs where either your romances didn't work out early on in life, okay, or you had love relations come with a delay. Because from the 5th house, Saturn aspects the 7th house of marriage and relationships. Okay, and since it rules the 2nd house of family, it shows that because of the fact of your family, a lot of value towards finance and towards food intake, towards family lineage were put on you. A lot of responsibilities of family were put on you, including responsibility of children. But it came with a quiet ease. Although it was a struggle, although your parents put a lot of discipline on you, it came with quiet and ease. Not that much of a hardship, but also it shows that you wants to put your children under discipline. You want to make sure your children are disciplined, structured, and organized. But what it will do, it may create some cold relationship with your children, because of the fact Saturn is a cold planet. It wants to show reality wherever it sits. So because what it shows with the 2nd house Lord being in the 5th house, it can delay your earnings. Your earnings will be gone into the 5th house matter of your children, of your education, maybe creative pursuits. And what it does, it'll put you under burden and stress. You may not think of it as a hobby. Sports and things related to creativity don't really become things of fun. It becomes a things of duty, things of work. You're always serious about the matter of the 5th house. Okay, so that's how you look at these things. How each planet from becoming each lord, has an impact on a certain house. But what Saturn does, although it has a boundary again regarding your creativity, maybe romances, maybe you have very limited amount of romance, and you may have had a late marriage because it aspects the 7th house. But what Saturn does, it prolongs it for a long time, meaning that maybe that one romance turned into a marriage, and it really blossomed your life because of the fact Saturn shows what works. Saturn doesn't make you delusional. Saturn shows what reality is. This is why people think it's a negative thing, but it's not. It's better to have the realistic view of life regarding children, regarding education, and realistic view of the marriage than having some sort of a delusion. And being the 2nd house ruler, it shows that you value the fact that you saw the reality of the 5th house. You saw the reality of yourself, because it also rules your ascendant as a Capricorn ascendant. It shows that you value your spouse and what you actually learn in a marriage. It's not like, oh, it was a fairy tale wedding and suddenly turned into a dramatic saga. Saturn really shows from the beginning that, look, this is how things are going to be. So it's a very good thing. Okay, so guys, this is my analysis of 2nd lord in the 5th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below, and if you want to know where your 2nd lord is placed and if it's in the 5th house or some other house, for that, check out the links below. Check out my books that are Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get these books, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Just make sure you follow the directions below. And remember, August 27th, my book Aspects at the Speed of Light comes out also on lulu.com. So we'll see you then, and we'll see you next time with Second Lord in the 6th house.